The Hagia Sophia, Constantinople's greatest church, Ottoman Istanbul's grandest mosque, modern Turkey's most profound museum. A structure that had survived regime change, religious conversion, earthquake, and fire. The perfect metaphor for Ibrahim's vision. Institutions transformed rather than destroyed, repurposed rather than abandoned. Recognition happens in the peripheral vision first. The outline of a figure so familiar, it registers before conscious thought engages. Ibrahim Nazari hadn't tried to disguise himself. His disappearance and presumed death had provided all the cover he needed to operate in plain sight, watching his digital creation reshape the global financial landscape from the cradle of empires. What do you say to the mentor who shaped your understanding of the world, then upended it entirely? The man who taught them to protect systems he now sought to dismantle. The distance between them, measured not in meters, but in ideological light years. Reunions after betrayal follow their own choreography. Assessment, positioning, the careful calculation of what remains of former trust. Ibrahim had designed this encounter meticulously. Private yet surrounded by centuries of witnessing eyes in mosaic and fresco. History as both audience and judge. The financial system wasn't collapsing. It was revealing its true nature. The attack had exposed structural vulnerabilities that had always existed. The fragility of trust. The house of cards built on digital consensus. Ibrahim hadn't created the weaknesses. He had merely brought them into the light. The most profound betrayals happen incrementally. The monitoring system they had built together had been designed to protect financial networks from terrorism. But what happens when those same networks become vehicles for institutional corruption? When the systems you're protecting become the threat itself? Height changes perspective. From the apex of the Hagia Sophia's dome, built to echo heaven itself, the human concerns below shrink accordingly. Ibrahim had brought them to this threshold between earthly power and something more transcendent for a reason. To show them the pattern he saw from his newfound vantage point. Power distilled to its essence. The ability to continue or conclude. Ibrahim wasn't surrendering control. He was offering a choice. Continue the controlled demolition of a corrupt system, or preserve an imperfect order. Stability versus truth. The philosophical divide that had separated mentor from protégés now crystallized in a single decision. The Istanbul Code had begun as a shield and evolved into a sword. Now its creators faced the question at the heart of all power. Not whether it could be wielded, but whether it should be. Not what was possible, but what was right. Dawn on the Bosphorus. The threshold between continents. The border between ending and beginning. Financial systems globally had been wounded, but not destroyed. Ibrahim's attack halted at precisely the point of maximum exposure, with minimum collapse. A controlled demonstration rather than annihilation. The weapon had become a tool. The attack repurposed from destruction to revelation. Markets wouldn't return to their previous state of willful ignorance. Too much had been exposed. The hidden machinery, the structural vulnerabilities, the compromised foundations. What emerged would be something different. Not perfect, but aware of its imperfections. The Istanbul Code had fulfilled its original purpose after all. Not as a weapon, but as illumination. The very institutions it had threatened now scrambled to implement its lessons. What Ibrahim understood, what Jensen and Viper now accepted, was that systems required periodic collapse to evolve. That truth, however painful, was necessary for genuine security. The code that began in Istanbul had changed everything, not by destroying the foundations of global finance, but by revealing what lay beneath them. The question wasn't whether the system would recover, but what it would become in the aftermath, and who would guide its evolution.